Bob Lazar is a name closely tied to discussions about extraterrestrials, making him a controversial figure in the UFO community. His bold statements about secret government projects and alien technology have sparked both interest and debate for many years. Now that Lazar has ended his long silence, there is renewed hope for answers in a field full of mysteries. In the late 1980s, Bob Lazar appeared as one of the first whistleblowers. He was an ordinary man who stepped forward with claims that echoed throughout the UFO world and beyond. Lazar said he had worked at a secret government site called S4, near the famous Area 51 by Groom Lake, Nevada. According to him, his job was to reverse engineer alien technology there. Here's what he said.
My name's Bob Lazar. I'm known for working at a classified base known as S4 out in the Nevada desert near Area 51. And there, we reverse engineered alien spacecraft.
Lazar's original statements were eye-catching. He described 9 different flying crafts, claiming they were from extraterrestrial origins.
Actually 9 flying saucers, flying discs, that are out there of extraterrestrial origin.
One of these crafts, called the Sport model, was powered by a reactor using element 115, which was not known to science at that time. Lazar said this element could create anti-gravity effects, enabling the craft to perform maneuvers that went beyond normal physics. Lazar also explained that work at S4 was highly compartmentalized. Different teams worked separately and only knew about their specific tasks, which helped keep the operation extremely secret. His story added detail and order that many UFO reports had lacked. Here was someone who didn't just claim to see UFOs, but said he worked on them. He shared technical details, exact locations, and a timeline. His story fed the public's desire to uncover hidden government secrets about aliens. But Lazar's claims didn't only create excitement. They also brought a wave of doubt. Critics pointed out issues with his background and questioned if some places he mentioned even existed. Scientists, especially physicists, doubted the idea of using element 115 as fuel for space travel, saying it was almost impossible based on what was known about the element at that time. Still, Lazar managed to shake up the UFO conversation. He gave it new terms and focus points like Area 51 and element 115 that people could understand. Before Lazar, Area 51 was just a little-known military site. After Lazar, it became linked to alien stories, drawing curious people, reporters, and UFO fans hoping to see something extraordinary. Lazar's whistleblowing made many see him as a truth-teller, someone risking personal safety to reveal information that might change the world. The image of a lone person standing up to a huge government body connected with many who doubted official explanations. Over time, Lazar's story was analyzed, argued about, and often dismissed, but its effect was clear. It set a foundation for others to come forward with their own stories about secret projects and alien encounters. The world of UFO discussion changed permanently. It moved beyond blurry photos and vague stories to something more real. And for many, that reality came through Bob Lazar. Near Groom Lake, Nevada, the secretive S4 facility, as described by Lazar, is a source of mystery and debate. He said this hidden base, right next to the more famous Area 51, was where some of the most secretive work on alien technology took place. Lazar's account of S4 showed a place focused as much on keeping secrets as on scientific study. According to him, S4 held 9 unique flying saucers, each with different designs and functions. These crafts weren't just stored there for show, Lazar said. They were in working condition. He described how they were kept in hangars built into the mountainside, hidden from view both from the ground and from the sky. If true, this meant the people running S4 were not only studying these crafts, but possibly testing and using them. Among all the claims about S4, the mention of element 115 was the most striking. Lazar said this unknown element was the key to how these alien crafts were powered. He explained that element 115 could create a gravitational field used for propulsion. This, he said, allowed the crafts to perform movements that seemed to break the laws of physics. According to Lazar, element 115 does not exist naturally on Earth, and was delivered to the site in small amounts for experiments. He said the element was used in a reactor inside the crafts to create a gravity wave, which was then amplified to move the craft. The craft didn't move like normal vehicles. Instead, it manipulated gravity to pull itself toward its destination, changing how motion works as we understand it. Talks about S4 and element 115 didn't stay only among UFO fans and conspiracy circles. They also reached popular culture and some parts of the scientific world. Lazar's detailed descriptions sparked both interest and doubt. For some, S4 seemed like a secret fortress where humanity's greatest discoveries were happening. For others, it was a made-up story blending fact and fiction. The impact of Lazar's claims was huge. If they were true, it meant that the U.S. government, or some secret group within it, had technology far ahead of current human knowledge, by centuries or even thousands of years. It also suggested that humans were not alone in the universe, and that earthly governments had physical evidence from beyond our world. However, the details of Lazar's story, the complex design of the alien crafts, the features and uses of element 115, and the secret operations at S4 became controversial. For every person who strongly believed Lazar's version, there was another who dismissed it as made up. Still, no matter where people stood, the stories about S4 and element 115 added new layers to the discussion about aliens and advanced technology. They raised questions not only about what could exist in space, but also about how far governments might go to hide such discoveries. Lazar's account, linked with the mysterious S4 and unusual element 115, opened a new chapter of curiosity, hope, and doubt in the search for extraterrestrial truth. Every big claim, especially one as bold as Lazar's, invites close examination. The more daring the statement, the deeper the scrutiny. Lazar's claims about S4, alien crafts, and element 115 were no different. Over time, many criticisms and challenges surfaced, questioning the truth of Lazar's story. A key criticism was about Lazar's background. When journalists and researchers tried to check his credentials, inconsistencies appeared. Lazar said he studied at both MIT and Caltech, but no records of him attending either school were found. Some of Lazar's supporters argued that his records were deleted or changed to discredit him, which added to the idea of a cover-up. However, skeptics pointed out that completely erasing all evidence of someone's education, including memories from classmates and professors, seemed unlikely. Another major issue was whether S4 even existed. While Area 51 is a known and active military base, there is no clear proof that S4, as Lazar described it, is real. Satellite photos of the supposed area don't clearly show the hangars or facilities Lazar mentioned. Critics say that if Lazar really worked there, he should have been able to provide exact coordinates or solid proof. Physicists also raised doubts, especially about Lazar's claims involving element 115 and its use in propulsion. The way he described controlling gravity with element 115 didn't match known physics laws. When scientists created and studied moscovium, the official name for element 115, they found its properties didn't fit Lazar's description. Moscovium is unstable and has a very short half-life, which makes it unlikely to serve as a strong energy source for propulsion. Lazar's explanation of how the alien crafts generated gravity waves also faced skepticism. Many physicists felt his explanation lacked the depth expected from someone with advanced physics knowledge. The idea of gravity waves in his story was unfamiliar and inconsistent with established science. Regarding element 115, some suggested that a stable natural isotope Lazar spoke of might exist, but has not yet been found or is kept secret. They argued that our knowledge of elements and isotopes is always changing, and what seems unlikely now could become accepted in the future. For many, Lazar's willingness to come forward, knowing it could ruin his career and reputation, made his claims more believable. They felt no one would expose themselves to that level of criticism unless they truly believed in what they said. The debate over Lazar's story reflects the larger discussion about UFOs and alien life. On one side are skeptics who demand proof and facts. On the other are believers who rely on a mix of evidence, intuition, and a strong sense that we are not alone. In between are people open to possibilities, waiting for undeniable evidence that might tip the scale. Lazar's story, filled with both convincing points and confusing contradictions, will likely stay a disputed topic in UFO history. The ongoing argument between critics and supporters shows the human desire for answers, the urge to discover truth, and the efforts made to either confirm or refute a story that challenges what we know about reality. The media's role, in a time when information spreads instantly and stories can change with every social media post or TV special, the media played a huge part in making Bob Lazar's story widely known. While his tales of alien ships and secret government sites were interesting by themselves, it was the media's attention that brought his claims from the fringe into the public eye. Bob Lazar first came to public attention thanks to investigative journalist George Knapp, a respected figure known for his thorough approach. Knapp helped lend credibility to Lazar's story. Their TV interviews were crucial in bringing Lazar's claims to a wider audience. Knapp's detailed questions and Lazar's straightforward answers created a dynamic that was both interesting and easy to follow for viewers. The visual format, combining sound, images, and storytelling, was ideal for exploring mysterious and unusual topics. Lazar's accounts of the S-4 facility, alien spacecraft, and the complex details of Element 115 were supported by reenactments, animations, and expert commentary. This combination of narrative and visuals helped make difficult concepts easier to understand, allowing viewers to follow Lazar deeper into the mystery. Documentaries played a key role in spreading Lazar's story further. These longer pieces offered more room to explore the topic, presenting Lazar's claims alongside expert opinions, archival videos, and field investigations. They also introduced a wider range of perspectives, from strong skeptics to dedicated believers. This variety, though sometimes conflicting, gave a more detailed and layered view of the Lazar phenomenon. One notable documentary was Bob Lazar, Area 51 and Flying Saucers. It looked not only at Lazar's claims, but also at him as a person, his motives, fears, and the impact his revelations had on his private life. By showing Lazar as a real person, the documentary invited viewers to look past the sensational elements and consider the serious effects of speaking out. The rise of the Internet also changed the conversation. Online forums, blogs, and social media became full of discussions, debates, and deep dives into every part of Lazar's story. Hobbyists, amateur scientists, and UFO fans from around the world could share their thoughts, discoveries, and theories. This collective effort, free from geographical or institutional limits, sometimes uncovered details that traditional media missed. YouTube channels and podcasts focused on UFO research frequently covered Lazar's story, often adding new perspectives or information. Some aimed to disprove his claims through careful analysis, while others shared supporting evidence or stories that seemed to confirm his version. Still, it's clear that without media coverage, Lazar's story might have stayed a niche rumor. Instead, it turned into a worldwide topic, a key part of UFO lore. It sparked interest, fueled arguments, and inspired many to look up at the sky, wondering, are we really alone? The way the media handled the Bob Lazar story shows how powerful storytelling can be. When combined with modern technology and spread globally, it can shape how people see reality, what they believe, and how they view their place in the universe. Science, with its strict demand for evidence, often clashes with claims that lean toward speculation or lack proof. Lazar's statements, especially about element 115 and its supposed qualities, have drawn heavy scientific examination. Element 115 was central to Lazar's story. He claimed it was the key to the propulsion systems of the alien ships he said he worked on. According to him, when controlled correctly, element 115 could create a gravitational field that bent space-time and made interstellar travel possible. But when scientists looked into these claims, they found problems. The biggest was whether element 115 even existed. When Lazar first came forward, the element was not part of the known periodic table. It wasn't until 2003 that scientists managed to create element 115, which was later named moscovium. The real properties of moscovium, as learned from lab tests, were very different from Lazar's descriptions. The element was extremely unstable, with a half-life lasting only milliseconds. It quickly broke down into other elements. This made it unlikely to be a stable energy source or to power spacecraft. Lazar's claim that element 115 could control gravity also raised doubts in the physics community. Gravity is one of the fundamental forces of nature and is very difficult to manipulate, despite many years of research. Our knowledge about gravity is limited, and the idea that a substance like element 115 could generate or control gravity challenges what scientists understand. Science remains open to new findings, and history shows that some ideas once dismissed were later proven right. Still, the responsibility to prove these claims lies with the person making them. For Lazar's story to gain acceptance in science, it would need solid evidence, repeatable tests, or clear observations. Without that proof, his stories about element 115's special abilities remain anecdotal. Critics have also pointed out that Lazar never published peer-reviewed papers or worked with others to verify his claims. Science relies on cooperation, debate, and review. Major discoveries or theories are usually shared with the scientific community, examined by experts, and tested thoroughly before being accepted. Lazar's bypassing of established protocols added more doubts about the truthfulness of his statements. While Lazar's story is certainly captivating, and many strongly hope his claims are true, the gap between belief and scientific acceptance depends on clear evidence. So far, that gap remains unclosed. The intriguing story of element 115 and its supposed extraordinary qualities is still waiting for verification or rejection. Not based on personal stories or claims, but through solid scientific investigation. Whenever stories about secret government projects, classified operations, or covert activities surface, people naturally look to the government for confirmation, denial, or explanation. Bob Lazar's allegations, involving secret military bases and advanced tech, were no different. The official and unofficial reactions from various government agencies to Lazar's claims offer insight into the complex relationship between secrecy, government control, and the search for truth. At first, government agencies responded with silence to Lazar's claims. This lack of response, though expected, sparked more speculation among believers who saw it as proof of a hidden conspiracy or a silent confirmation that Lazar's claims had merit. For skeptics, however, the silence suggested that the government refused to waste time on what they saw as baseless accusations. The first signs of an official position came indirectly when people checked for records of Lazar's alleged work at Area 51, or the secretive S4 facility. None were found. His statements about academic degrees from well-known schools like MIT and Caltech were also denied by those institutions. Some viewed these denials as evidence of a cover-up, believing Lazar's records had been wiped. Others took it as a reason to doubt his entire story. As the Lazar story developed, more direct government responses appeared. The U.S. Air Force, which oversees the Nevada Test and Training Range, where Area 51 is located, has always been secretive about what happens there. After Lazar's claims surfaced, they kept saying that information about specific projects at Area 51 is classified and not open to the public. This official stance, while routine, only fueled more speculation. Unofficial responses, often more open and sometimes off the record, gave a different view. Some former Area 51 employees and contractors, while not confirming Lazar's exact claims, mentioned that highly classified and advanced projects did exist at the site. Their accounts suggested a strong culture of secrecy, where even those working there might not know everything going on. Another important moment came when, after many years of avoiding the topic, the CIA officially acknowledged Area 51's existence in 2013. Though this wasn't directly linked to Lazar's claims, the recognition came from a declassified report on the U-2 spy plane program. It didn't support the idea of alien technology, but confirmed the base's use for testing spy aircraft. Among all these responses, denials, admissions, and silences, the full truth remains unclear. Lazar's claims continue to hover between being possible and doubtful, while government reactions add complexity to the story. Whether seen as normal procedure, intentional hiding, or honest disclosure, these responses highlight the complicated link between government secrecy, public interest, and the search for truth in a world full of questions. Personal consequences for Lazar. Coming forward with claims that challenge official stories, especially those involving national security, often comes with serious personal costs. Bob Lazar's choice to speak out about Area 51 and what followed shows the difficulties of being a whistleblower in an environment full of skepticism, mystery, and potential danger. Soon after his identity became public, Lazar was pushed into intense public scrutiny. With everyone watching, every part of his life, from his education and career to his personal relationships and finances, was examined. Nothing seemed to escape attention. The attention wasn't just from public curiosity. Lazar often said he had been threatened and that efforts were made to remove all official records about him. He described being followed, watched, and intimidated. Though hard to confirm independently, these claims painted a picture of a man living cautiously, always aware of possible hidden dangers. Beyond threats, Lazar's personal relationships suffered from the fallout of his revelations. The pressure of being involved in one of the most controversial UFO stories affected his family life. Relationships became strained, and some broke under the intense public focus and stress. Trust became difficult to find, and isolation, whether by choice or circumstance, became a regular part of his life. His professional career was also significantly impacted. With doubts raised about his academic background and skepticism coming from mainstream science and engineering circles, traditional job opportunities in his field became scarce. Lazar, however, adjusted to this new situation. He moved into the scientific supply business, using his growing fame and the public's interest in unusual materials and technologies. Still, the controversy around his Area 51 claims never fully disappeared, always casting a shadow over any professional work he pursued. Financially, his path was full of ups and downs. Although his story opened doors to paid interviews, documentary projects, and speaking gigs, it also brought legal troubles, business difficulties, and expenses related to keeping a certain level of security and privacy. Like many parts of his life after his revelations, Lazar's financial situation showed a mix of profits and setbacks. The mental impact of being at the center of such intense attention should not be overlooked. Lazar generally kept a calm and straightforward attitude in public, but it's easy to imagine the internal struggles, doubts, and moments of uncertainty he likely faced. Holding on to such a controversial story would test anyone's strength. Another important part of Lazar's journey after going public was his slow withdrawal from public attention. After the initial wave of interviews, documentaries, and appearances, he became more private. While he never took back his claims, he seemed less interested in keeping them in the spotlight. Instead, he chose a quieter life, away from the constant scrutiny of both supporters and critics. Bob Lazar's life after revealing his Area 51 and alien technology story is a clear example of the costs and consequences that come with making extraordinary claims. It is a story about perseverance when faced with hardship, adjusting to challenges, and the lasting human drive to seek truth, understanding, and acceptance in a world that often meets such claims with doubt. So, what are your thoughts on this? Do you believe that aliens exist? Tell us in the comments below. Thanks for watching.